having a really bad day. And this bad day is part of this really bad season that I'm in. This season of, yes, there's a divorce. I'm at the grocery store. The cards don't work. I run over to the bank. Cash has been transferred out. And all of a sudden I realize that the only place that I think that I possibly could have some cash would be at a consignment shop. And I drive over there, and guess what? They're out of business. The whole thing is out of business. And all of a sudden now I realize the cash is gone. And I'm at a spot where I have nothing. Next door to the consignment shop happened to be an artist studio, and I walked into the artist studio. And the moment I walked in, I asked the artist what he was working on, but I already saw what he was working on. I could see it. It was a cross that was open into 3 pieces. And I asked if I could have it, and he said, of course. And I walked out of the store that day wearing a cross. And you know what? I had never worn a cross before in my life. No one ever needed to know when I was in prayer. No one ever needed to know when I was in crisis. I wasn't going to let anybody into that part of my life. But I found myself touching it and holding on to it. And when I least expected it, it would make this very slight sound. It makes a sound because it moves. It goes back and forth together because it's 3 separate pieces. But I would hear this sound, and I would find myself saying a prayer. But so you know how you go through a season, and then it seems to be okay for a while, and then all of a sudden something else happens, and that's exactly what happened. My son, Brian, 11 years old, has a heart attack. And the complications after that have been pretty significant. And it's been a difficult road. And this one particular day, Brian said, I think God makes mistakes. All I could say was that, Brian, he doesn't make mistakes. I can just promise you someday your journey will be revealed. And I turned so he wasn't going to see that I was crying. He wasn't going to see that I was scared, again, really scared. And when I turned, it made this very slight sound. I heard that sound that had reminded me throughout this entire time that I was never alone. I realized that my son had given up hope. I turned around to Brian and said, Brian, it's time for us to share what it feels like to be broken and to have faith put you back together again. That's what this cross is about. It can mean something different to absolutely every person, but you need to understand that what you've gone through is something to make you stronger. It's the courage that you show the rest of us. So at that point is when I decided to become an entrepreneur. At that point is when I decided to share Brian's story. It was at that point that I decided it was time for us to share what it felt like and to share hope and to give the message of hope. Not just to my son, but to anybody else that ever was struggling through anything. My children and I, we didn't get to this point in our life on our own. People have given us their gifts, and I realized that. And if it was the gift of hope, the person who told me that I had to believe in miracles, the friend that would bring a macaroni and cheese salad to the house, that was the gift of kindness. You know, everything in my life, everything in all of our lives has been a reflection of somebody's gift. So that's how the Stories of Hope collection was created. It was created out of those gifts. You know, the person that loves you no matter how many times you make a mistake? Or that person that you go to that gives you wisdom? How about the person that tells you the truth, even when you don't want to hear it? Those were the gifts. Those were the gifts that people had been sharing with me, and that's how I got to be where I'm at right now. I started to accept those gifts, and with the Stories of Hope collection is how I decided to honor those people in my life.